What's up, Passionate DJs? It is the month of October, at least for a few more days when this gets published, and what that means for Passionate DJ is that our annual special is on. That's right, our midnight edition of our Passionate DJ Classic Logo tee, just like we sell every year, is now on sale. You can get it at passionatedj.com/merch. It shows our classic logo in that black on black style, or almost black on black style. That's why we call it Midnight Edition. Fan favorite. We offer this every year. And we're also doing, for the first time ever, our modern logo version of the Midnight merch. So whichever one is your favorite, or if you like either or both, go check it out at passionatedj.com/merch. Also, if you're just now hearing about the Midnight merch for the first time, fear not, because we're actually, for the first time, also extending this special until the end of the year. That's going to be our 2020 special. So if you're hearing this and you're saying, it's November already, no worries. Go hit up passionatedj.com/merch and get yours now. What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Passionate DJ Podcast. I am, of course, your host, David Michael. I'm here with the one and only Tony DeCero.
What's up, buddy?
How's it going, man?
It's going, man.
We got a lot to talk about.
Hey, I just sunk.
Oops, you sank down. We almost lost you behind the booth.
All right.
So, yeah, you've got some exciting and interesting stories to share, especially considering all the things that have been going on during 2020, where it didn't seem like that we were going to have the same kind of stories from Tony as normal, because events weren't happening. So obviously we have a lot to talk about there. I do want to mention it is October, and so just like we do every October, we've got our Midnight Edition shirts available.
I can't wait to get a new one.
So yeah, me too. I want to get the new one. I haven't even seen it yet, so
wow.
I'm waiting for it.
Nice.
Also, the other thing I want to talk about real quick before we get started in our main topic is obviously Twitch. We've been messing around with Twitch quite a bit, doing some Twitch events. We recently had DJ Access on, which was a lot of fun. And we plan on doing a lot more Twitch events. So you should go to twitch.tv/passionate DJ. We're kind of getting a bit of a Wednesday vibe going, but we're playing with that schedule a little bit, trying different things. So go follow it and turn on your notifications so that you can catch when we do cool live music-y things.
I'm excited to build that for the winter time.
Yeah, that's really going to be something just to keep us in that musical spirit and vibe of being DJs. right. We're really trying to bring that to ourselves and to you guys, because we know that this year especially has been really rough for that, and for those of you who build connections through music and music communities. So we hope to be that for you.
It'll be a fun community.
Couple things that we have coming up pretty soon. We're actually going to be talking to an author, or actually I had a conversation with an author. Her name is Nina, and I'm going to be having a follow-up conversation with her. She's an author, and she writes romance novels, which I know is kind of a weird choice for a guest for us, but the reason that she came on this show was because one of the novels that she it either has published or is like imminently publishing, like this month. She writes romance novels, but the main character is like a festival headlining DJ type.
Cool.
And she's like, I don't really know anything about that. And so she reached out to me like, David, can you just help me am I saying anything that doesn't make sense as it relates to DJs, and how should I build this persona and stuff like that? So we talked for 30 or 40 minutes about that over Skype, and that was several months ago. And then since then, the book has been written and published. So basically, I want to have a follow-up conversation with her and bring her back on the show, and we'll make that kind of a two-parter thing, in one show. Was our conversation helpful at all, or did you take it a different direction? And what did you learn about DJing, if anything, through this process?
One of the main characters was a festival DJ?
Yes.
Was it the female or the male? Do you know?
I think it was a male DJ, but I can't remember the name off the top of my head.
Nice.
And I know nothing about the storyline or anything, but I thought it would be kind of fascinating to share with the podcast audience kind of, an outside perspective of I don't really know anything about DJing, but I want to create this character.
There he was.
What questions do I have?
Walking up the stairs. One flight to be exact. He steps up to the tables.
And then so yeah, that'll be a fun conversation to bring her
Yeah.
back on and talk about that and just kind of, she got into our head, and now we're going to get into her head and figure out how she used that information to build her character, her DJ character.
Right.
So that's coming soon. We've also been doing lots of cool hardware related stuff, stuff surrounding the CDJ 3000. I actually have some SE 6000 related stuff coming soon. We're doing all kinds of fun hardware stuff. So the place to go for that would be our YouTube channel. So hit up youtube.com/passionatedj for reviews, unboxings, comparisons, sometimes us just playing around with the gear and saying what we like and don't like. And then just in the realm of announcements, general DJ announcements, obviously Pioneer released the S11, the Pioneer DJM S11. And I should have brought something out or printed something out with all the specs and stuff. But it's basically like a direct competitor to the Rain 72, which is what DJ Access was playing on, the Mark II version of that.
Okay.
So it's kind of cool to see these battle mixer battles.
My first impression of the whole scenario was it's most DJs I feel that play on a 2-channel mixer is geared more towards hip hop, and there's just so much going on that I feel that those DJs are doing things so quick. It's just too much. It's way too much.
So you think the modern battle mixers are getting too carried away, feature wise?
I mean, how many effects are on there? 22 or something crazy?
Zillion.
Yeah, and looking at the screen and
different ways to engage effects.
Yeah, it's I mean, the tricks are getting quicker and more thought out anyway. So I mean, I can see it in the pads and all that stuff, but I mean, when I played top 40 in a club and I was just on 2 turntables and a mixer, I couldn't imagine going in and 22 different effects and echoing out and spinning back and scratching and just doing all there's just so much for.
It's almost like these super fancy battle mixers are great in the right hands, but that pool of DJs is like a sliver.
But I also watch, I watch these kids play Fortnite on a keyboard and a mouse, and they're building a house and shooting and firing, and it's just patting
your head and rubbing your belly.
Maybe I'm just old as shit, and the younger generations are way quicker, and it is what it is.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. Back in my day.
Yeah, really. Yeah, is this just a get off my lawn moment?
Yeah.
Well, something that is kind of cool that is coming back and having a renaissance is this drive-in thing, and so I would really like to talk about that because I guess where should we start? I guess maybe talk about what the event actually is, and what it's like to be there to attend one.
To attend, I can't give you the full explanation because I take my scooter out every now and then to see, but it's so. I mean, I guess we'll start with buying tickets online. Okay, so you buy a ticket and you have behind front of house you have general admission, and then you have in front of house you have VIP left, VIP middle, VIP right, and then in front of VIP you have front lane. Okay. So when you go to buy your ticket, obviously your ticket is going to depend on what your area is, and let's just say front row for a show is $400, but that's for 4 people.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so your car is 4 per car unless you have an SUV. If you have an SUV, your ticket would still be $400, but whatever the general admission ticket price is per person, whatever it divides into, could be $35 a person, whatever the case may be. You just add $35. However many extra people.
Gotcha. Yep.
So if you have 6 people in a car, it's your $400 and then $35 per extra person, if that's the general admission ticket price. So that's how you buy your ticket, and every show varies in ticket price, obviously. You get your ticket online. Our location, we were fortunate enough, one of the owners of our company has the relations with a lot of people in different real estate properties in Columbus. And there's a mall called the Westland Mall, which is right off of 270, that's been an empty mall for over 10 years. I think they do a gun and knife show in there once a month in one of the what used to be retail stores. I don't know if it was a Sears, JCPenney, whatever. But other than that, it's completely empty. So the parking lot that's behind the mall, they airbrushed, or not airbrushed. That'd take a long fucking time. No, they spray painted all new spots.
Okay.
And the spots are double wide. So you pull your car into your spot, and you still have an empty car space next to you.
Gotcha.
And then you have your 3-foot emergency or your 6-foot emergency area, then your next space.
Okay.
So you can pull into your space, get out, and have a whole nother car space for everybody in your car to get out and sit in your lawn chairs, to stand up, to sit in the back of your truck if it's a truck, and watch the show. When you get out of your car, you have to have a mask on. But it's just, I mean, it's phenomenal. It's really...
So and for those of you watching the YouTube version, we had a visitor. You might see our studio dog Colin here visiting. Hey, buddy.
What's up, duder?
So where does the sound come from? Is it coming from the individual cars, or do you have a rig?
So we have a rig.
Okay.
The rig is half, maybe less than half of what we normally use for our festival sound. So instead of 32 or 64 18s across the front, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think we have 8 double 18 cabinets. So we have 16 double 18s.
Is that primarily to keep the noise complaints down? Because you might be in more
it's outdoors.
Yeah,
outdoors. It's outdoors, and we've had some noise complaints, not a bunch, you know. But our we don't normally turn the system up.
Okay.
Until the headliner comes on. I mean, it's at a decent level, but I get so many texts when I'm on stage, like, "Hey, can you turn the sound up? Can you tell the sound guy to turn it up?" But I mean,
you would love to, I'm sure.
Absolutely, we'd love to get it louder, you know. But we just being outside, we just can't. And it's also FM transmitted to the car.
Okay,
so you can get in your car
either.
and you can listen. Mm-hmm.
Is that pretty real time, or is there a lag?
There's a small lag
like
between the system and everybody's car.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just sending that one signal and everybody's getting that signal at that time, because there's a lag through all of it.
You know what's funny about that is it might be better for the people that are further back, because that latency is reduced versus what it would be if they were just hearing that sound
up front.
delay.
Right. But if they're up front, so if you get the front 2 lanes and even VIP middle, you're still feeling and hearing a festival sound. You're not like feeling it per se, but it's there. You know, it's
not nothing.
no, it's good quality sound.
Okay.
But the delay that's another complaint that I hear from people. Not really a complaint, but you know, they do say the delay, because when they're outside of their car and you have other cars around you that have their systems cranked up, and then you're hearing it from the stage, and then 2 seconds later you're hearing it right here, kind of.
So it's kind of like the problem you have at any multi-stage festival, except they're all playing the same song.
Right. Right.
Instead of different ones. It reminds me of Movement in particular. They rearranged those stages several times to reduce that.
But it's you know, the R&B shows, all the shows are different. We've done country, we've done R&B, we've done
interesting
EDM.
So it's not just car raves.
No.
Okay.
No. We've it's been pretty diverse. We had
you're talking like concerts, not just DJs?
Oh,
like live performances?
Yeah, live performances.
Nice.
Yeah. So Quincy 92 and Chelsea Cutler are pop-ish. They sold out in 27 minutes, and they're Then we did the next show with them on a Sunday, which almost sold out again. We did 650 on the Saturday, and then Sunday we did like 600 cars. We did Smith and Myers, which are the 2 main guys of the band Shinedown.
Okay.
They do an amazing acoustic.
Oh, okay.
Amazing.
Like singer-songwriter kind of thing?
Yes, phenomenal.
Do they do Shinedown songs, or is it an independent?
They do a couple Shinedown songs.
Okay.
They do a couple Shinedown songs. most of Smith and Meyer stuff, and they do a couple covers too, which were fun. They did like Phil Collins in the Air.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, pretty like amazing. What's his name? Brett, I think. Yeah, Brett Smith. Brett Smith and Zach Myers. Brett Smith, his voice is so strong, like even talking. And they were the most amazing guys, you know, coming up during sound check, thanking us for everything. During the break of Brett, when he comes off stage, he came up to us over at Monitor World. You know, it was Bobby and Scott and myself, and was just like, you know, you guys doing good. Thank you for everything you've done. And I'm just like blown away because they're probably the biggest act that we've had as far as a world stage is concerned.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? They were just amazing guys, man. Amazing. Highly impressed. We did Chase Rice, which was country. Music Soul Child and Raheem DeVaughn, which is R&B.
Oh, yeah.
And then we just did Montel Jordan and Carl Thomas.
Montel Jordan kills me. That's so awesome. We posted that picture on Facebook. Me and my wife were both just like, "Oh my God, really? Like, what I would give to have that photo."
Man, and I'll tell you what, like he pulled up and it was his driver and just him and his wife.
Yeah.
No security guards, no nothing. They pulled up to the back of the stage. He came up, and that was really the only his show was the only part that we had a small little issue with because his file was sent to us via Dropbox, and it was his audio is embedded with his video. So it was a track show, and all of that was done at front of house because front of house is where our video wall is being ran from. But our front of house sound and monitor is all being ran from stage, which normally front of house sound is with front of house lights, video, and everything out front, right? Mixing the main sound. So when they sent it, they had to reformat the whole file, and it was going to take 90 minutes, and we only had maybe 15 more minutes before doors to get him a sound check in. So we got the this is how we do it. We got that downloaded. We got it the file fixed and everything. He got to do his sound check. Left, came back, and right before his set, his intro, he's got Flavor Flav doing this big long intro, and he was standing in Monitor World with us, and then when they hit play, it was just like, it sounded like way too slow. And everybody was just kind of like looking at each other, and then it stopped. And then about a minute went by, and a minute feels like 45 minutes to us because we're back there shitting our pants like, come on, man. So please work. And then they started again, and it did the same thing. And we're just at this moment, we're just like, oh man. And he's on the side of the stage, and he hasn't walked out yet. And he said, "I swear it's not me. I'm not the devil, but I'll be out in a minute." And it was he just took it real good, you know.
That's cool.
And then when he got out on stage, started, everything was going good, then it stopped. And then and he's just standing on stage, and he's like, "All right, front of house." He's like, "I'm going to stand on the stage and stare at you awkwardly until we get this right." And he just
went into like stand up.
Yeah, and he was just like just joking around, you know. And it finally worked, and he really good.
That's so great. That's a professional right there.
Exactly. Most people would have just, thrown their hands up and walked off stage and, just yelled at us.
Especially like, I've heard from you a lot of stories of hip hop artists specifically having that kind of just, fuck this, walk out, almost diva like thing. So that's really cool. That he's not like that.
Yeah. He was really, really fun to work with. And, me growing up in the club era in the 90s and DJing top 40, even still to this day, that's probably one of the top 10 most known club bangers, what I mean, from 1990 until now. Everybody knows that song. And it was just really cool to work with him, know. And another cool thing is some of the guys at PSG didn't know about the song. I'm like, well, they said, how many renditions did he do of it? I'm like, well, I don't know if you know this, but that song was a Slick Rick song called Children's Story. And he's just like, wait a minute, what? So I played it for him on YouTube. He's like, "Oh my God, no way!" And I know this song. I'm like, "Yeah, it's the same thing."
Yeah.
And that's when everybody, it was awesome.
And
it
even
was really, really cool trip down memory lane for me.
Yeah, and even Montel came out with a bunch of remixes of that. I mean, there's like more R&B, not less party, more a little closer to baby making music.
Yeah.
This is how we do it. It's Friday. Just a little snappy, slowed down the tempo a little bit. And I think I've got a few of the remixes here on Wax somewhere.
That was the first one that he did. And then he did 2 more songs, and he did the Slick Rick version. And then he did 1 more song, and then he did the final This Is How We Do It.
Oh, that's cool.
But he only played for 30 minutes. He was actually direct support for Carl Thomas, which I didn't know who Carl Thomas was because I haven't really dug into R&B probably since the mid to late 90s, since like Jodeci and 112 and that whole era, because I got so into techno and electronic music that I just lost touch with everything R&B and top 40 and rock and just anything radio play. But I was highly impressed by that guy too. Like, holy moly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I wonder, so because first of all, have you been doing the more typical for you and PSG, the more typical like EDM and DJ acts and stuff as well?
We have. I mean, we've stuck to our EDM. We had Rez.
Okay.
We had a guy Subtronics, which is a bass heavy DJ. We had Peekaboo, which is bass heavy. Who do we have coming up? Major Lazer, which is like Diplo and his crew. And Nightmare and Ghastly, which is our typical haunted fest that we do every year.
Yeah.
But we're doing it drive-in style.
Oh, that'll be cool.
And then we just announced 2 days ago, because we had that Friday open for Halloween weekend. So it was Thursday, Major Lazer, open Friday, and then Saturday was Haunted Fest with Nightmare. But we just announced Bone Thugs and Harmony and Twista on that Friday night.
Oh my goodness!
On the 30th. Yeah.
All right, I might have to go to that one.
Oh man, absolutely you
that's
should.
That's right
man.
up my alley.
Absolutely you should.
All right,
I got you, man. I got you. You'll be on my guest list.
Cool. Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds.
And I've it's cool because again I've had some friends that want to get out and come to them, so it's a cool night out.
For as long as I've lived in Ohio, I've never seen Bone Thugs live.
Really? You didn't come to when we did Land of Illusion?
Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh!
I wasn't there.
Wow, dude.
I know.
I did
Sucks,
that.
man.
I did the '90s Fest with them, and that was in Columbus.
I've missed it every time.
Wow. Well,
I know it sucks, man. I've been a fan since Crossroads and all that.
Right.
So I was a young teenager.
Friday, October 30th. Make no plans because you are coming.
All right, that sounds fun.
You're not backing out. I'm not letting you back out.
That sounds amazing. But there's been a lot of focus on live sound. So, and I know that you're not exactly new to that either. You've had to, especially with hybrid setups and stuff, you've had to do that a lot. But have you had to like adjust or learn anything new for doing these kind of setups? I mean, what would I not think of until I'm sitting in front of it?
On these runs, I've learned a lot because typically when I'm a stage manager, I'm not hooking up anything other than the DJ gear.
Okay.
I'm
centrally located in one spot for the most part.
Yeah, well, I mean, for the most part, yeah. But you have audio, video, lighting, like the way those cables are ran, the way that those Edison cables are ran, like, all of that stuff. And thankfully, Scott, which is who I worked with Scott during Breakaway a few years ago. He was on a run with us. And I got along really good and love Scott to death, man. He's very, very smart individual in the whole audio, just in the whole world in general. And he when COVID hit, okay, because he was on tour. He was front of house guy for Bruno Mars 24 Karat tour, right? And when COVID hit and they canceled Ultra, he was the first person that I hit up, like, yo, what's going on? And he said, he's like, it's serious. He said, I know that Live Nation took everything off of the books until fall of 2021, and that was pre-COVID. Or not pre-COVID. That was when Ultra shut down and everything started shutting down after that.
They all just started falling like dominoes.
And Scott is our monitoring front of house engineer right now for like all of this. He's our audio everything guy. And I mean, when I got to the site before the stage was built, he was rigging. So he was up on the scaff, rigging scaff, you know. He helped hung lights. He helped hang video wall. You know, I learned how to daisy chain all the video wall, all the different cables. I've learned how to, you know, strike all of the wedges, all of the live instruments, the drums, because normally when we do changeovers, you know, because I'm not really a big live instrument guy and knowing much, I would always kind of be afraid to step up to a drum kit that's mic'd and, you know, pull the wrong cables out and fuck something up.
Right. Suddenly there's no kick drum or
right,
whatever.
because I mean, because it's all changeover. You know, what do I unplug? What do I plug? Now I know all that stuff. You know, it's
that's cool.
How all of that starts to work, and that's, you know, because there's not a big, huge budget to have stagehands, to have, you know, a monitoring world guy and a front of house guy, and, you know, all of these other people that. So when we do festivals, we hire stagehands, we hire union hands, right? And they know all that stuff because they do all of the arena tours, they do all that stuff. They know, hey, you need to unplug this row of lights, they need to move forward, they know which plug to unplug first, because if not, it fucks the whole chain up. You know, like, they normally do all that. And I manage that timing to get that done and to make sure that changeover happens properly. Yes. You know, so one thing that I did learn, and it's not one thing, it's a lot of things during all this, is all of that stuff.
Okay. So it's not necessarily that there's much that's different about the setup for these kind of shows, but you've had to get more involved yourself because there's less labor to go around.
Yes.
It's more grassroots.
Yes. Which is awesome. You know, and I like.
Is that because there's a limited attendance situation, so you can only get so many tickets?
So there's 650 spots.
Oh, that's pretty good.
As a sellout. So you multiply that times 4 because there's 4 in a car.
I didn't realize that. That's a lot.
Okay. Yeah, it's a lot of people. Wow. It's like
I was thinking like 150 cars or
almost
something.
Well, our average has been, other than the Quinn 92 and the Chelsea Cutler show, the average has been low scale 100 cars, mid-scale 300 cars, and then Quinn just jumped up to 600. Like, he's the only one that packed that whole area.
Wow.
Which it still looks good, and if you take 300 cars, it's still like 1,200 people.
Yeah.
You know, it's a good amount of people.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have to ask, how has enforcement been? All the COVID rules, and how crazy do you guys have to be about it? How much are people giving a shit? What's
people?
that?
I mean, people are giving a shit. So backstage, there's no backstage. There's Bobby, which Bobby is my assistant. You know, you have Scott, which is audio. You have Nate, which is our production manager. Jeremy, which is down below the stage, which is running the IMAG walls on the side. That's running the ads and all that.
Okay.
And then you have the girl at front of house that's running all of our lighting and video wall. Okay. So that's everything stage, and we're the only people that are in and around the stage at all times. You don't have
these entourages and shit hanging out.
No entourage. Like, they'll come up with a manager and maybe a wife or something like that. But when you're on stage, if you're not performing, you have to wear a mask at all times.
Okay.
If you're, if you leave the stage and you're in the parking lot somewhere, some people will pull their mat, not the parking lot where the patrons are, but backstage, because we have our own parking back there. Some people will not have their mask on, but they're by themselves, they're far away, and they're outside.
Is anybody giving you shit at the door or anything like that, or pushed back on, any of those kind of requirements?
As far as
like enough to cause a stink about it?
No, not really, because we have CSC event security. We have the mall security, which is like literally one step below law enforcement. I mean, they're fully tactical, weapon, like the whole nine.
Yeah.
And their perimeter and their office is directly behind the stage as well. So you have event security going everywhere. You have parking attendants. There's enough staff to make sure that people are staying in line.
So you're not, I mean, it's not a situation where you're having a lot of people cluster up and stuff like that.
Nope.
Well,
the only time they cluster
that's
up.
What I would be afraid of.
Yeah, the only time that they cluster up is in their own group, in their square where they park.
Yeah.
When we come in every day, we have to get our temperatures checked. We have a certain questionnaire that we have to fill out to make sure that we didn't, hey, did you travel outside the state of Ohio? Were you around somebody with COVID? Do you have any symptoms? Blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
So we go through that whole process when we get there as well, before we go up on stage. Even the acts, anybody with the acts, they all go through that same process.
Okay. What about, what other logistical issues maybe have you run into that you wouldn't find at a normal show? I mean, things that you wouldn't, like, I imagine somebody's going to have a dead battery in their car in the middle of the field someday, or somebody's going to get stuck in the mud, or, how does weather affect this? And is it different than a normal concert?
We've been so fortunate to have perfect weather.
Okay. Well, that's helpful.
Every show. Other than the 2 shows, one, the first R&B show that we did with Musiq Soulchild was like 39 degrees. So it was cold. And then the one we did last weekend was kind of cold. But other than that, we have not had bad weather. We almost had, we had to prepare for high winds at one of them when it rained last week. We had to prepare for that, but by the time 5 o'clock rolled around, doors were at 6.
I mean, it's almost got to be like, in some ways, for some people, it's almost like your biggest fantasy, right? Because it's like, I get to go to this thing and people have to stay the fuck away from me.
Exactly.
And I'm not getting smashed up. I went to a lot of rock shows when I was getting younger, and that was part of the experience, smashed up and banged around and stuff. Or you had to stay out in the outskirts.
Right.
And now you can, you have to pay to play maybe a little bit, but you can get a spot and then have your bubble and still have this live music experience, but have some control over your environment. If it's 39 degrees out, you can sit in your car and turn your heater on for a little bit, which you could never do at the festival. Like, imagine just parking your car in the middle of the festival and turning the heater on, right? Like, so, I mean, in some ways, it's just kind of awesome.
It really is, man. It's at first, like, I didn't know what to think. I'm like, man, this is going to be weird. This is really
awkward
weird. But when you, from our point of view, looking out, there's a couple things that, that I can look and see. You pull up to the front lane, okay, you back in, and when I mean you back into the front lane, so you have the front lane that's literally not even a foot away from the rail.
Oh, wow.
Like, literally.
Okay.
Okay, so, and then you have the next lane behind it, which is still front row. And then it racks off from behind that. That's when VIP starts behind that. But if you're front row and you're spending $400, so, everybody goes out, it's $100 per person in the car. You get out of your car and some ladies brought dining room tables, like fold out tables and had meat and cheese trays.
Oh, wow.
And we're just sitting there watching their favorite artist,
Oh, that's so cool.
It was really cool. From my point of view, it's like you look down and you can see each group vibing differently.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like these people right here.
They get to enjoy it their own way.
Yeah, like these people right here, you see them vibing out to a beat. And then you see this group over here, and they're all on like the bass line, or there's, you know what I mean? It's like every group vibes differently, and
That's
you can
cool.
see it. And being able to pull up that close and watch Shinedown. The two main guys of Shinedown, like you get out of your car and this is them. Like, we're that far apart.
Wow.
You're looking up at these guys and it's like...
And to be able to do that without like having to worry about getting violently shoved around or...
packed up shoulder to shoulder.
If you're a
and
woman,
you can't get out. Yeah.
Groped or whatever. It takes all of that out of the equation, which is kind of fascinating.
You go to an arena and you pay for that front row ticket. It's... for concerts now, it's just 5 times that, if not more.
Yeah.
So to look at a ticket and say $400, that's expensive, but that's divided by 4, and you're paying $100 to literally
for your personal capsule to watch a private concert,
one of your favorite acts, whichever act that may be.
That's a pretty good sell when you think about it that way.
Yeah, it is. And we have a couple food trucks, we have merch, and we have beverage stations.
What's alcohol policy?
It's BYOB.
Okay.
As long as you don't bring glass in, you can bring your drinks in, whatever. We only serve like sodas and things like that. We don't serve alcohol. But in each section, there's a pop-up tent, not a tent, but an easy up.
Canopy thing.
And each section has its own. And everybody, even there's porta potties. Even when people go to the porta potties, we have security everywhere, and everybody, they stay their distance for the most part anyway. And then you can go online, whatever food trucks we have, you can order your food, and then when it's ready to be picked up, they'll shoot you a message, and you can leave your car and go pick your food up. It's, dude,
it keeps getting better.
Yeah, dude, it's really, really cool, man. It's a different experience, that's for sure.
So I haven't experienced mine yet, but just hearing all of that explained that way really makes me it makes me hope that this trend continues beyond whatever lockdowns and things occur.
I think that
the 2025 version of this is still happening.
Right. I think that it will. It's definitely created a whole new concept and a new experience. Any way that you look at it, even if, I don't want to say if. I'm going to say when we go back to concerts, because I don't want to put that if out there. But when we go back, it's still going to be something, because it is a cool experience. It really is. And we're literally one of the guy, Smith and Myers, the guys of Shinedown, when they were, they broke down the song and he started talking to the crowd and just started telling story and stuff. He had mentioned let's give it up for the company that's doing this, because they're literally one of less than 10 doing this anywhere. And we're giving them opportunities to be on a stage and play, and they're so thankful for it.
Limitation inspires creativity.
Yes, absolutely it does, man.
And, we thought that, probably if we go back and watch this show in a year or two, we'll be like, yeah, drive-in shows, that's a normal
right,
thing. Yeah,
right.
Of course. What's the big... But, think about how the first silent disco that you went into, or you've heard about.
It was at Electric Forest in 2013, I think it was. I was like, what is this? But it was cool. It was different.
Yeah, and I went to Movement, had the Sub Pack. They set up a booth, and then they had a little silent disco thing. You could strap the Sub Pack on and walk around and experience it. And it was the same. It was like, oh, this is cool, but I'm in my own little world here and stuff. Well, silent discos kind of blew up. At least here locally, we've had a successful one running for a zillion years now.
Yeah.
Not a zillion years, but and it's normal. It's like, oh, you're going to the silent disco, and it's not like, what the fuck is that?
Right.
So I think that probably all it takes is to go to one and be like, oh.
Exactly.
I see.
It is, because everybody is so we're still getting the messages, is the act there, because drive-in movie theaters are doing like Metallica concerts and things like that, but they're previewing them on the screen.
Ah, yes.
No, it's a full festival stage, full production. The act is actually on the stage playing.
Have you done any shows at drive-in theaters though, or have they all been like custom bespoke setups?
When this stage went up, it's stayed up, and it's staying up until we're done.
Oh, okay.
So Nate, which owns White Light in Chicago, he's our production manager, and he owns the video and lighting, and he sources the stage and the sound. But they brought it in the beginning. They built it, and Nate partnered, kind of partnering with PSG, and we did everything. We built a stage just like we would at a festival.
Yeah.
And it just stays up there all month. And they live, they have an RV on site that they live in. Not they, but one person stays there a night, and they also have an Airbnb.
Okay.
So there's always somebody on site, but the stage stays up, the lights stay up, the sound stays up, video wall stays up.
Do you think maybe have you learned anything through this that will carry over into normal shows too? Because you've had to be so efficient, and or is it just kind of more of the same, just pivoting to this
probably just pivoting
situation?
Probably just pivoting back in. I know it's going to probably, I know this will probably start next year as well. Again, I think it's always going to be a thing and probably remain a thing for a while. But a lot of the festivals, your Bonnaroos, your EDCs, have pushed to fall, which are normally in the summer. So just like Scott told me at the beginning of COVID, fall of 2021, that's where they're all pushing right now.
Yeah.
Is fall of 2021. So what's going to happen in the spring and summertime if there's nothing?
You've already figured it out.
Yeah.
So,
and a lot of people, there's a lot down at Legend Valley where they do Lost Lands. They've been doing a couple drive-ins here and there. They got one in Cincinnati coming up. I don't know who the company is, but they're doing DMX somewhere in Cincinnati. So they're popping up,
Yeah.
And I'm just fortunate enough to be with Prime Social and, Zach and Adam and them having the connections that they have in the industry as well as the real estate to be able to do this the right way.
How do you like working with more live acts?
To be quite honest, I like it. I'm starting to like it more.
Really?
Than DJs. It's and
personality-wise or
not even
equipment-wise?
that. It's kind of equipment-wise because you don't have all the bells and whistles. You don't have the fire. You don't have the smoke. The sounds the sound is there, but when you're watching a DJ, play some music back and forth, and they're tricking and they're doing their thing, and it's a good mix and it's a vibe. But when you
you have to add all that.
Yeah, but when you watch, a live act and that drum, like they come in and then that drummer just like, it's like, oh my God. And then they start ripping on the guitar or somebody plays the sax or, you know what I mean? It's just.
And you're like, I helped. I plugged in that XLR cable. Yeah. I know that's a real instrument.
Yes, yes. And I can't brag enough about Scotty. He's such a great and knowledgeable person in the audio world. He's been on so many tours. He's in his early to mid 30s, but he's super smart, and I've learned so much from him. And even when the bands come in, even Chase Rice, okay, huge country act, whatever, he was playing. He was just doing an acoustic set, and Scotty was mixing. Scotty was front of house mixing because a lot of the guys, there's only been a couple acts that's brought their own audio engineer with them.
Okay.
And so Scotty mixes them and also mixes their in-ear monitors or their monitors. And he got some bass out of Chase Rice's acoustic guitar. And Chase was playing a song, and then all of a sudden some bass hit. And Chase was just like, what the hell? And looked over at Scotty like and even in the in-ear monitors, the guys are like, dude, like, you make me sound amazing. Thank you. The R&B guys, like the local acts, they can't believe how good they sound because, he's such a good audio engineer. He's smart, and I've learned a lot from him. Cabling, just a lot.
So what's the hardest part about doing a show this way? Is it the limited capacity? Is it convincing people that this is a real show? What do you not like about it, or what's tough about it, if anything? 'Cause we're really talking it up. It sounds awesome.
It's really the hardest thing is just getting people to understand the show itself, and that it's a different vibe, but it's cool. Yeah. Of course you're not getting music that's blowing your head off, and I get it. In the EDM world, that's how most of that stuff exists, is through the bass, through your bass cabinets, through everything. But it's still a cool experience, and to get people there to realize that it's a cool experience, even if it's, general admission ticket, even if it's $150, that's still, like $60 or whatever, $40 a person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which you're paying $40 to get into a venue, but you have the people that, we can also get in the crowd and be close and have loud music, so for the $40, they don't.
It's kind of like a similar concept to the idea of table service or bottle service, where you're like, okay, me and the homies, or me and my wife and this group, or whatever the group is, buys a table, and then we kind of have our own little spot here, except it's cheaper than that, and it's probably an easier sell because you're like, you get to be where you're already comfortable.
Right.
You know what I mean?
With your own people.
And you don't have to be like 25 and wasted and excited to enjoy this scenario.
Right, right.
You can be where you're comfortable, where, with the people that you like and all that, and it's cheaper than bottle service.
Yes.
And you can BYOB.
BYOB. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
awesome.
It's an experience. It's, it's one of those you have to live it. You know what I mean? You have to be there and to understand it. I was skeptical at first. Even the owners were skeptical at first when the drive-ins first started. Like, we had when COVID hit and before they canceled our breakaway season. We knew that Disco Donnie was doing a drive-in, and we knew some people were doing them and trying them out, but Zach and Adam, they just didn't want to do them.
Yeah.
And now, we're doing one here. We're actually doing in Charlotte, North Carolina at the Motor Speedway too.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like not only do you have to figure out like here's all the logistics and here's how to make this show work, but also like from the investor side, like is this just a flash in the pan trend? Like, and will it last long enough for us to go through all the trouble of figuring out how to make the show work? Because it's hard. Mm-hmm. And you guys had to build a bespoke venue to do this, basically.
And that's a cool thing that we built a venue.
Yeah.
It's not a traveling festival where we have to, 4 days, a 3-day build, a 2-day show, and a 2-day teardown. It's the stage is there. It's a venue. Yeah, we get there. We know our door time. We know what time we have to be at work, and doesn't have to be at the ass crack of dawn like normal because there's not 30 acts. We can't make any sound until 4 p.m. So we do, depending on if the band we had Fits in the Tantrums.
Oh yeah.
Last weekend. And they were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there was 5 or 6 of them. And it was an 11 a.m. load in. They have a lot going on. They have a very, very professional team with them. So we had to load in early, but we couldn't sound check. That day we sound checked at 3, but they did their sound check. And then we had another band that we had to load in, which was a local act. We loaded them in, got their sound check. And then doors are normally at 6, but if it's a packed show or we sold, 300-400 tickets and we're expecting, 550 something, 600, then they'll open the doors earlier to get people in. And normally the show doesn't start until 8. So you drive in, you park, you get settled. Couple hours and we just play some music over the house system, like a playlist or something. And then show starts at 8, ends normally at 10, except for some Sundays we have to be done by 9:30, but it's just typical concert hours. A couple hours earlier obviously than 11, 12 o'clock end concert, but I mean
it's so cool to just watch the market fixing this problem or filling in this gap.
Adapting to our situation.
That's awesome. I do want to ask you real quick because I caught the logo on your hoodie. Have you spoken to our Crystal Grid friends lately? How are they doing?
They've just been working on music. They have a couple separate projects that they're doing individually. It's because Crystal Grid is, obviously they're producers and they make music and they put music out, but their show, their show is where it's at. Yeah. And they can't do shows right now. Yeah. So they both came up with a couple new projects, which Cody, Jared hasn't really put his out there, so I don't really want to speak too much on Jared's, but Cody, he's doing a side project. It's lo-fi music. It's called Summit One. Okay. All like everywhere, Instagram, Facebook, SUMMIT, 1 ONE. He just hit, and he started this right when COVID hit, and he's been getting in with all of the biggest lo-fi artists, and he just hit after I don't even know, a few months, like over 1 million streams on Spotify.
Holy smokes!
Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because lo-fi is like real, like ambient background, almost chillish kind of music. It's not really music where you want to go to a festival and see somebody perform it. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe there's people out there, but it's mostly music, like really, really chilled atmospheric style music. And
oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, he's doing good stuff with that. And he's got something else that he's working on as well that's more business related.
Okay.
In the music world, so they're getting by. They're doing their thing. They've been, they've also been doing the Crystal Grid thing, working on music. They're getting back to it. They're starting to see a light at the end of the COVID tunnel, if you will. So they're
that had to be a hard project to work on through this time. I mean, it's so focused on their performance and how they do it live that what do you do?
Yeah, and hopefully 2021, because they're saying everything's coming fall, the festival season, if we get through what we're supposed to get through this year, I guess, whatever it is that they know. But if that happens in fall, then we have all spring and summer. So I'm going to assume and hope and put it out there that we're going to be doing these again in the spring. I'm hoping that we are. Zach, if you're listening, do it, please. And maybe I can get them to come in for a show and be, a support for one of the acts. I got
they would be good for that.
Fatty that was on the show, Fatty Lumpkin. So this Sunday we have the Dirty Heads.
Okay.
And then we have there's the Quasi Kings, which are support for the act, direct support for the act. So normally during the show, like I was saying, we have a playlist, and people pull in, and we have like 2 hours prior to the actual show starting. So for this show, I told Zach, I said, hey, my buddy that was doing all of the DJing for the Chappelle shows over the summer, how about we get him out here, and instead of us putting a playlist on, we have him, either stage left or right, not on a riser DJing per se for the crowd, but him DJing on the side as the house DJ. So I got him coming Sunday.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's really cool.
Man, that's probably where he wants to be too.
Right?
Yeah. Man, that's great. Well, Tony, thank you so much for coming in here and telling us, what's going on with all that, because, I intentionally, I still want to go to a show and really experience this for myself.
October 30th.
I haven't asked you too much about these shows because I really wanted to dive into it on this show. And, like I said, it's really fascinating to be able to kind of get the inside perspective of how this really works and how, like I said, the market is adapting to fill these gaps. And I hope that you guys continue to have success with that. I hope it continues to be safe, and I hope that people continue to be respectful of the guidelines that you have to enforce, whether or not you like it. And that's awesome.
It's the rules we have to play by right now, And it's when COVID hit, and I had that conversation with Scotty, where he said, Live Nation wasn't putting anything on the books until fall of 2021. In my head instantly, I was just panicked, like, oh my God, because everything that I do is based around events, and I was freaking out, and I didn't know what to do. And, the unemployment thing came through, and it was great, but it still didn't give me that self-worth. It was, my bills were getting paid and I was fine, but I still felt like a POS, you know what I mean?
Tony couldn't do Tony stuff.
I wasn't doing anything, and I just, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And it was scary, and I just kept praying and praying and praying and talking and, being optimistic and thinking positive. And one day I got that call, and it went from 0 shows to not knowing if I was going to do shows for another 1.5 to 2 years to doing 30 shows in a month, every Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And it's been amazing. And I just can't I can't thank Prime Social Group enough. It's survived me a lot.
That's great, man. Maybe we can grab a couple of photos from your adventures, maybe post that Montel Jordan photo and pop it up here as part of the B-roll flashing by or something.
Absolutely.
Or put it on Instagram. And
I have Nathaniel let me use his little electronic scooter, the scooters that you rent. So when I go out into the parking lot, if I want to go out and watch the show for a minute, I'll take the scooter, or I'll go to the production office because it's 100 yards that way, 100 yards this way. So I get on the scooter and I go out and I'll get in the lanes and I'll watch. It's got a little bell. It's like ding ding,
That's
and I'll watch. So the other day I went all the way out to the front where you come in, and I walked the whole thing and I recorded it on video, so we can speed it up to where you can see. I walked the lane, and you can see all the lanes, and I act like I pulled into a parking spot and where he was on the stage. So I have little videos we can speed up, and I'll get some videos or some pictures from Pierce and stuff like that we can probably use.
So we'll drop some of that over the YouTube version of this episode. If you can get that to me quickly, I'll go ahead and drop some of that in. If you are listening to the audio version of this podcast, you can check that out by going to the YouTube version. You can watch that at passionatedj.com/210, as this is episode 210.
Westlanddrivein.com.
Westland?
Westland, WESTLAND, drivein.com. It's got our schedule. It's got all the frequently asked questions. It's got the food trucks that we have for the show. It's got all the info you need. We're only doing it till October 31st. We have a few shows left this year. But hopefully if we bring it back next year, it'll be there. And
awesome.
Yeah, man.
Tony D, thanks so much, buddy.
Absolutely,
Appreciate
man.
it.
Yeah, for sure.
And for all of you at home, thanks so much, and keep on spinning.
Yep. See it.
Even in 2020.